Welcome, my friends. Today I'm going to talk about constructivism. Constructivism is a very important sociological paradigm, and it has wide ranging applications in other social sciences such as psychology, economics, education, international relations, political science. It is widely used by the social scientists to understand the nature and structure of social reality. It has features which are unique and very significant for understanding and enhancing our structuring and our perception of the social reality. Some of the important assumptions you can say they can be summarized. For example, first very important assumption of uh, constructivism is the that reality is constructed, and meanings, they are the more important and more significant part of any social interaction or social system. We cannot fully measure and objectively gauge the nature and structure of social reality. So we have to depend, as we do in positivism, so we have to depend on the social context, and we have to understand the subjective meanings attached to those contexts by the individuals. So social reality is constructed by the meaningful interaction of individuals in multiple social contexts, in multiple cultural contexts. Then constructivism, emphasizes that the social scientist should try to understand the underlying meanings and try to discover the insights afforded by the institutions, afforded by the processes, afforded by the collective behavior of the societies. So, if we want to understand different societies, if we want to understand different cultures, different social processes, and social behavior, we should try to understand the underlying meaning and the underlying insights which govern and which drive those processes or those uh, systems. How far the individual plays a role in creating meaning, and how far that meaning is constrained and conditioned by the external context, that is also important. I mean, objectivity and measurement is not the target of this paradigm. What is important is to understand the subjectivity and the contextuality of the social event, of the social phenomena, and of the social behavior. Whatever we uh, come across, and whatever social interactions and social institutions and social conflicts and social problems we face, we should have a broader perspective in which we come to analyze the different contexts in which those problems are created, and they emerge and they change and they transform. At the same time, we need to understand the role of individual actors in shaping and reshaping and changing and transforming the context in which that phenomena is taking place. So, agency and the way it is structured, the action, individual action, and the way it is socially structured is also very important. In constructivism, the social scientists they critically look at the nature of truth and reality. It is claimed and it is proposed that there is no objective truth, and there is no universal social reality. It varies from culture to culture. It is relative. It changes. It can change overnight. The one day, the one night, you have a different social reality, and the other day you have another social reality. So it is very important to understand the journal, movement of events, the historical movements of events in which the societies and the communities and the group of individuals they are operating and functioning. and the meanings and the worldviews and the ideas which are affecting and shaping the behavior of individuals and social systems in those historical moments and events. That is important. That will give you an understanding what how to interpret a social phenomena, how to interpret a cultural event, how to understand a political behavior, how to explain the emotional and psychological traumas, how to understand the performance and outcome of the student and teachers. Finally, the very interesting assumption of constructivism is that it has the capacity to transform and change the societies, human societies, human groups, individuals, and can help in understanding the identity and the interest of individuals and societies, of individualities and collectivities. I mean, they go in tandem, they go in, go together. Identities and collectivities, individuals and groups, and social dynamics. They go in hand, and they, underlie and create new meanings. With every interaction, we get new meaning. We can find some interesting studies on constructivism, and constructivism should not be taken to be a mere subjectivity, reproduction of subjectivity. It must be tempered with clear cut, well defined rational discourse. I mean, just recording the multiple and varied form of personal and subjective reactions, that is not the aim and objective of the social science. What is important that those variations, those observations, those personal insights, those contextual meanings must be presented and interpreted in a broader rational and cultural and social framework. Only then that can make a sense, and that can help us understand the importance of constructivism. For example, if we use constructivism in the study of learning, so we have to frame it within the rational parameters, which I call critical constructivism. Should not be simply social constructionism, that everything is social and socially constructed. It should be tempered with critical insight, and what I call as critical constructivism, which I also practice, in my writing and in my way of dealing with the data created from, grounded and phenomenological research. So it is very important for the social scientist to understand the movement of, thought, which goes in shaping and tempering the subjective understanding, the subjectivity. Subjectivity untamed and unchecked is of no use. It cannot give us any, broader perspective and broader understanding of social reality. There are certain very important classical studies on, you can say, on the in which the paradigm of constructivism has been used by the social scientists. For example, the one study which is coming to my mind right now is Howard Baker's, study on deviance, sociology of deviance. He studied the behavior of outsiders. We call them the outsiders, and how their behavior is then shaped by the institutions, by the context, by the reaction of the people. He claims that deviance is not, there is nothing deviant, there is no social deviance, there is no deviance in any social action. It is the context, it is the response, and it is the reaction of the groups, the mechanisms, they, shape and define what is deviant and what is not deviant. Then another important study is which comes to my mind is laboratory work by Bruno Latour. Bruno Latour, he claims that if we want to understand and construct the social reality meaningfully, we have to not only understand the individual action, we have to understand that action in tandem with the non-human things. He also takes them, I mean, the surroundings, the environment, the chair, the table, and the environment in which the individual is behaving. He, says that it is very important to understand the symmetrical relationship between the human actor and the surrounding environment, between the human actor and the ideas, the meanings which influence and shape him, and between the human actor and the broader, set of non-human and inanimate and non-living things. So, that is another example of the application of constructivism. Similarly, we can apply constructivism in the study of violence, how violence is perceived and, calibrated, measured, and how violence is interpreted. For some, violence may be very important. For some people, violence may be important. For example, in the army, you have to learn the use of violence to attain certain objectives, certain broader national and broader political objectives. So, violence is justified in that context. But the violence, in another social context, for example, attacking an unarmed person, attacking an armless person, armless man or woman or a child, that violence, it will be very difficult. It will be highly skeptical to accept that violence as justified. It will not be possible to justify that violence. So similarly, when you apply this constructivism to religious experience, how the universal reality, spiritual reality, is experienced by different cultures. How a Christian looks at God, how a Muslim looks at God, how a Hindu looks at the ultimate reality or God. That depends on the context, that depends on the language, that depends on the subjective experiences, and that depends on the history of those people. So all these, things, they make constructivism and social constructionism a very interesting paradigm, sociological paradigm, with which we can study individuals, we can study group of individuals, we can study societies, we can study communities, and we can study civilization. That is all for today on sociological paradigm. Thank you very much.